Okay, welcome everybody. This week we are talking about the year of I can do this, the monkey. I am severely sleep deprived, so if anything doesn't make sense and Kathy and Malky don't catch it, feel free to email me or write in the Facebook group and ask me to clarify anything they've been using. So because I get asked this a lot, I'm just going to give you the general years for the years of the monkey. You can keep them in mind while watching. And if you want to know the exact date, so if you're thinking about someone who's born in January and February, then you can check in the email. You can check down below actually if you watch the video or in the Facebook group. And you can also Google, because Google and Wikipedia both know all of them. Okay, so the years of the monkey, we have 19, I know where monkeys are. I'm sorry, I'm severely sleep deprived. 1932, 1944, 1956, 1968, 1980, 1992, 2004, 2016, and the next one that comes up will be 2028. So monkeys are now military service age, more or less, which may be a scary thought once we finish talking about them. So monkeys are sometimes considered to be in like the folklore side of things, the least popular or the least lucky zodiac sign. And the only reason I've ever found for that is they say because they're too much like people. They're like people squared. Like everyone else, you're like, oh, here's a person who's like a dragon. That's amazing. Here's a person who's like a dog. She's so loving. Here's a person who's like a cat. That's cool. Here's just like this really person-y person that's so annoying. Monkeys, because they can walk upright and they have hands like we do, represent, on the one hand, the rational side of the human being. By standing up, they're literally raising their brain and having it be closer to heaven. They're reaching up, they're reaching to the sky, to the stars. And so they represent this really like rational, brainy, intellectual side of things. And yet, on the other hand, and as we now know, based on like primatology studies, because they are so closely related to people, they are the most playful animal. They play, they learn through play, they experiment, they prank each other. There is apparently this one ape in a tribe in, I do not remember which forest, who found a mummified body of like this dead snake and snuck it back into camp and would like wait for the bigger, more dominant monkeys to fall asleep and then would sneak up and put the dead snake on them. So they would wake up and go, it's a snake on me, and everyone would laugh at them. Like cats might do that if they could think of it, but it's a little advanced. Yeah. and dogs wouldn't, and it's like, that's just a very human sort of behavior. And so I think that's probably the reason why historically people have not, like the Chinese culture has not viewed monkeys as the most favorable of the signs, because they're just very people like. So the monkey is a very interesting mix of energies. The main energy of the monkey is the water energy, where the water is, the main energy is the water energy, and the deep energy is the metal energy. And
what's that?
The main energy is the water energy.
Right. And then what you said after that?
And the deep energy is metal energy.
Metal, okay.
Okay, so when we talked about the tiger and the rabbit, the main energy was metal energy, and so we saw there that there was a lot of this this metal type activity, this looking for clarity and setting boundaries, making decisions quickly, possibly bringing in a certain sense of maybe critique or criticism because of always looking for what's right and wrong and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. That was the main thing. But then how they do that is by always trying to grow and develop and try new things and then pruning back what's not necessary. And then the monkey and the rooster, I'm sorry, can you hear the kitten? Just to, is he bothering people? Okay. He's supposed to be napping. We're learning, we're working on the schedule. All right, back to where we were. So the monkey and the rooster that we're going to talk about next week also have this metal energy, but it's not their main thing. It's their accessory, or their actually accessory is a good word because it means to help as well. So the water is the main energy, and the metal is the gift that they have that lets them do or be more of a watery type animal. And so the water in the monkey really represents the sense of and connection to themselves and the deep aspects of themselves, and a really great ability to absorb what's going on around them. So it's a connection to what's subconscious, what's unconscious, what's not getting said, the nuances of what is getting said, both when interacting with other people and also with themselves. Monkeys are considered to be, according to one of my teachers, the Zodiac sign that has the easiest time, not saying easy time, but the easiest compared to all the others recovering from trauma, because they're so very connected to themselves. They're so in touch with themselves, and they have this ability to move. They can move energy through the different layers of their own psyche. So they can take things from the outside and bring them in very, very deeply, but they can also take what's very, very deep inside of them and share it, bring it up to the surface, make it visible, share it with other people. And so I actually have this theory that monkeys need that deeply, deeply playful aspect of themselves, because that is how we cope with all of the deeper sides of our psyche and the heavier parts of life. As human beings, we're designed to turn things into stories, into games, into songs, into something that we can play with and so we can control and teach others about, and really turn something from something that happened to me to something that I am expressing and that I am choosing how to share, how to talk about. And so one of my teachers said that, if, Malky, do you have that? Sorry, someone else is trying to come in. They said, if, a monkey child has a very difficult childhood, they undergo something that might have been very difficult for some other child to recover from, they're going to take that experience and they're probably going to turn it into a Broadway musical or a novel. They just have this ability to transform energy, to absorb and to release. So Charles Dickens was a monkey. As just an example of someone who turned a lot of what they lived through into art. I had another example, but I've forgotten it. So if it comes back to me, I'll let you know. Hi, Diana. So we're talking about Year of the Monkey. I went through the years, but you missed them.
And what was the name you just said? Because I didn't understand it.
Charles Dickens was a monkey.
And did you say someone else as well? Or?
And then I said I had someone else that I planned to bring up, but I've forgotten at this point.
Oh,
there.
sorry. Okay.
No problem. So just to reiterate then, the energy of the monkey is the water, and the deep energy, the how they go about being so watery, is the metal. They have that metal strength that lets them really express all of their water energy. But as opposed to the tiger and the rabbit, where the metal is the main focus, Here, the metal is the accessory to the water. It's here to support, to assist. And so monkeys are very good at seeing what's right and wrong for them. And what it needs to be here or does not need to be here in this situation where they are now. And they're they have a great sense of clarity and a great ability to understand what's going on, which they can use to their own advantage. And so one of my teachers in the Zodiac, Zodiac science, was a monkey. And he talked about how when he was a kid, he got in trouble at school a lot. But in one particular instance, his mother put him in his room and told him, "You're not coming back out that door until supper time." So he climbed out the window. Didn't break the rule. He just, took in the situation, and he saw what was appropriate to the situation, what was not appropriate to the situation. Mom says, "Don't go out the door." I won't go out the door. Do I feel that it's fair for me to be grounded? No, I do not. So, solution. Monkeys are considered to be very, very great problem solvers because of their ability to really absorb and clearly see what's going on around them, to bring a lot of clarity to the situation, and kind of not to care too much. If the solution they come to works for everyone, which makes it a lot easier sometimes to solve a problem. If you're like, I'm going to find a solution that's good enough that I can make work, and then I'm going to implement it, and it's everyone else's problem if they don't get along with that, it can be a lot faster to find the solution to a problem. So monkeys are intelligent, they're creative, they're playful, they're problem solvers. They're said to see the world as a stage. Now I'm wishing I looked up what Shakespeare was. But the monkeys literally see the world as a game, as a play, as something that can always be changed and manipulated if need be. And they see themselves as having the job of an actor or a player, someone whose job it is to fit into what's going on. And then, like if you're looking at the world as a giant game of improv, like you need to fit in, you have to say yes to what's going on, and then try and turn the situation in the way that you had planned. And so they're supposed to be very good at solving problems, at getting along with people, at turning things to their advantage. Not necessarily very good at things like saving money, but they also don't waste it. So when they spend money, they're going to be very clear on what they're getting back. And what they're getting back might be fun, or it might be making someone happy, or it might be someone's going to owe me a favor. But they always have the little counter going in their head, like, he owes me more, now I owe him. Not in a bad way, but it's just one of the ways they see the world. So, you want to say something, Milky? Okay.
Just that I don't, I've got a daughter who's a monkey, and that took me by surprise, because that doesn't seem to be how she does things. Everything else so far has been, you're just telling me, like you've met my daughter. It's just like, yep. So for you to say something that I didn't quite recognize was new. Something I do want to say though is that everybody should know, now's a good time to pause. Chava has been up all night caring for a kitten she rescued from the heat yesterday. The kitten would have been dead without her, so she's a little groggy as when she's apologizing and getting lost. That's why, because she literally saved a life yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that is what's happening. And if anyone in Israel wants to adopt an adorable little orange kitten once he's done bottle feeding, let me know. Probably can't ship him abroad. Thank you, Monkey. Anyway, so I'm curious, what part of the monkey that, like the monkey interaction, didn't seem right to you?
I've never known her to keep score like that.
There's no reason you should, because it's it's not like she's planning to, come back and say, you owe me, or she's going to be mad if she pays for more than her sister does. But it's just that there's an awareness that this is how the world works. Like this economic awareness that, like, if I'm giving something, I expect to get something back. I want to know what the value is.
Yeah, that very much.
Yeah, so monkeys generally good at making money, good at spending money, don't tend to have a lot of savings as a general characteristic, but they can usually come up with some sort of solution to any problem they can find themselves in.
They sound like investors. They might not be savers, but they do sound like investors. Does that make sense?
Almost certainly, probably more speculative investors than say the ox. Like the ox, it's like in the ox's list of personality traits as being an investor. Like oxen believe that everyone needs to go out and do an honest day's work, and that includes money. So they do save, they do have an emergency fund, but they're always trying to use their money to do something and to make more. But they tend to be very, very careful with it. And I think the monkey would definitely be into investing, but would probably be would be less careful than the ox, and would probably do some things that everyone else might think they're a bad idea just because it's so cool and he's got to see how it turns out.
That seems especially true for the male monkeys, even more so than the female ones. Like they seem to be very early adopters.
It's quite possible. I listened to an interview with like one of the world's experts on primate behavior, and actually fascinating, talking about how and why he distinguishes sex and gender in his books, writing about apes and monkeys. And so he says that there are distinct sex-linked gender differences between male and female adolescent monkeys and apes, where if you give a female ape of the various kinds, so a female chimpanzee, a young adolescent female chimpanzee, a toy, she's going to treat it like a baby. She's going to carry it around, she's going to groom it, she's going to try and feed it, she's going to wrap it and rock it. And if you give a male chimpanzee a toy of any kind, he's going to break it trying to work out what's inside. So yeah, there are still there are certain links or hormonally modulated tendencies in most of the species that we're close to. And so yeah, it makes sense that the male monkeys would be a little more inclined than the females to take maybe greater risks, because they just they don't have that must protect the baby thing going at the same level that animals tend to. Okay, so with all of that, what do monkeys need? That's what we're here to talk about. So actually, what monkeys need to get from people, or to get from the universe around them, is the same as what tigers need. They need a sense of a higher purpose. Because monkeys have, because if they're just going around seeing the world as a game, if they're looking for, the best, if they're just looking for problems to solve and solving the problems because they're there, if they're and just doing the next thing that seems fun and exciting, if they take all of their skills and all of their abilities and they're not connected to some meaning, to some purpose, to some reason for acting, then they're just they don't end up healthy and balanced. And so monkeys need to feel like they're part of something greater, whether that's working towards a cause, whether that's part of a tradition, a history, a family, a tribe, a company. And then that gives them a direction that will focus their talents. And it will also give them some constraints when it comes to using their amazing problem-solving abilities, because we don't want them all going around just coming up with the best solution for me, but rather the best solution for my tribe, my neighborhood, my community. Because they're so talented, and because the specific things they're good at can be used to do a great deal of good or a great deal of harm. Because they are talented actors, they're very good at giving people what they want, showing them what they want to see. Like my teacher who went out the window, right? His mom was happy, he was happy, no downside. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. They can be amazing teachers and therapists and connect with people, but because they do have these talents that can be used, they could also be used to cheat people, to trick people. Monkeys in one text are described as being the ideal Zodiac for a gentleman, scoundrel, or a con man. Someone who can get everyone, they walk into a place, they look like they fit in, they can get everyone to trust them and like them and go along with what they're planning. And then they'll be able to come back a year later and do it again and somehow convince everyone that it was a misunderstanding. Yeah. Get everyone to invest in their new job and their new scheme. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. So when we're looking at how we can give this energy, this connection, the heavenly fire energies, the connection energy, the communication and feeling of closeness. As we talked about with the tiger, things like trying to connect with them through something that has meaning. So if you want to spend a fun day out with your monkey, if you can try and find something that would give it more meaning or significance than just spending time together. So something like volunteering or going to a museum about a subject, not just that interests them, but that they feel personally connected to. If you're Israeli, maybe you take them to Jerusalem for your fun day out, or somewhere that or wherever you live. If there's something that inspires awe, if you have a mountain to climb, something to explore, something to see that will help you feel connected to nature, to history, to your country, to civilization as a whole. All of these things they'll add that extra something the monkey needs to get. Giving them the chance to connect and talk about what's going on with them. Giving them appreciation and appreciation and the sense that they're really being seen when they're sharing their art or however they choose to express their inner energies. Monkeys, one of their gifts is the ability to be there for other people, like to be present and to listen. They can really do that. And they can provide a lot of clarity for what's going on with other people. But they also really need the chance to talk and to share. Because like you said, with the monkey, the energy is always circulating, taking the superficial, the outside energy and bringing it in deep. and they're taking the deep energy and sharing it with people around them. So yeah, that chance of interaction, sense of connection, the appreciation for what they do, are all really important things. Anna?
Well, I'm just thinking that, you know, all this water and this metal is exactly the opposite of earth boars. So I'm wondering how earth boars and monkeys get along.
Hang on.
With monkeys in general.
I mean, first of all, boars or pigs tend to get along well with everyone. And monkeys can fake getting along well with everyone. So I wouldn't expect there to be any sort of, they get along well with people in general, but even if they don't, they make it. That's what they do. They get into the situation and they make the best of it. So I would certainly expect it to be cordial at the very least. The pig or the boar does bring some fire energy to the table with him. The monkey really can get along with pretty much anyone. He doesn't intrinsically have anything in particular that the boar or the pig necessarily is looking for. And it's something that they need to get to feel balanced. But he's personable, he's friendly, he's a good conversationalist, he's artistic, and those are all things that that the pig or the boar really, I'm just gonna say pig because that's how I learned it, I'm sorry. The pig really appreciates. Pigs are very social and very civilized. They like discussion, they like connecting to people, they like everyone sitting around the table and sharing how their day has been. And a monkey can do that just fine, even if they're not so into it. You would never know. Once they're past early adolescence.
So if we're comparing like the signs, so if my sister is a monkey, and that means she's water and metal, and then I'm a snake, and that was wood and fire, does that complement each other, or does that make challenges because there's no connection?
Yeah, there isn't a lot of connection. There isn't a lot of connection, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you can, I think at that point, it becomes more about, we would also look at the other energies that are involved, but there's also just a question of personalities, and also I think how you were raised. Like, because if you're raised in a household where the parents, I don't know, say if both the kids were snakes,
Mhm.
and you came along and you were a snake and you were like their perfectly normal kid who they loved and you were just like them, and then you had a completely different kid who's, you know, a monkey or a rooster or whatever it may be, someone who is totally different, and so the one child grew up feeling like they were okay, and one grew up feeling like something might be wrong with them, like they didn't fit in. That can have a completely different dynamic than if, you know, you have the parents are different and the kids are different, and you just grow up in a household where you have all these different personalities. And I think that can have a huge effect on how well the kids get along.
Okay.
You know, aside from how well their own personalities mesh.
Okay.
The snake monkeys, traditionally and in real life, are afraid of snakes. Snakes are one of the predators. Like poisonous snakes can.
They are? Oh my God.
Yeah. So the large constrictor snakes eat small monkeys, and the larger apes are afraid of snakes. They're instinctively afraid of snakes because presumably poisonous snakes being a problem historically.
Which makes sense to the story you just told earlier. So
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. And so I think the monkey and the snake, they're very similar in a way. The monkey is described as being the most intellectual, and the snake is described as being the most clever of the animals. The monkey fits into situations and finds a way to make the best of them. And the snake does the same thing. The snake it can fit. He's not, like a hard, stiff animal. He fits into situations and finds a way to make the best of it. So they do very similar things, but from because of very different drives.
Okay.
The monkey really is like seeing the world as a giant game of improv, and everyone's trying to get along. But if I can get everyone to follow my script, then obviously that'll be best because I'll be the big star at the end of the night. And the snake is more like there's a lot of good things in the world. The world can be a dangerous place. I have to very carefully make sure that me and my family stay in the good areas and don't wake up anything dangerous.
So cautious more then?
Yeah.
Okay.
The snake would be more cautious. The snake, they do end up with some very similar expressions of personality.
Okay.
Yeah, but the monkey would be from a more me-centered place, whereas the snake's from a more my family, my household, my tribe-centered place.
Okay.
Like the monkey is naturally, I don't mean this in a bad way, he's naturally selfish. And I really don't mean that in a bad way. I think most of therapy is trying to get people to be more selfish. Like everyone I know who's in therapy, that's what their therapist is working on. You have to stop giving away so much of your energy, keep something for yourself. And monkeys they're set up. They're a little more me focused than a lot of the other animals. And that's one of the reasons that they can survive things with their personality intact that other people can't, because they can cut themselves off and they can be like, okay, putting my head down, I'm gonna get through this.
That's totally my sister. I mean, in 1 year, we lost my father. She got a divorce, and then she was relocated from Illinois to Florida within 1 year. And I'm like, how did you manage that without? And then there was no family down in Fort Lauderdale, and she just did it, And I'm like, dang, So now, when you were saying that, I'm like, oh, I totally can relate that to this year that she had, which would have been, challenging for many, and she just made it look easy breezy. Not that it wasn't hard, but it was just wow. So
Yeah. So that's the sort of thing that maybe someone with a dog was born the year of the dog going through that might have had a much harder time, because the dog is always it's like I can't think of a better metaphor. It's like there's something connecting. It's like there's a string connecting their heart to the heart of everyone in their family and everyone that they care about. And so a dog can't put her head down and be like, I have to get through this, because she's always getting pulled in at least 18 different directions. And a little bit of her energy is always going on, like, what's going on with him? What's going on with her? Is he all right? And in some ways, in some circumstances, that's a better survival strategy. If you're in a place where, what's going to get you through this is the connection to other people being willing to come rally around you and help and support you, then you might be better off being a dog. But if you're somewhere where you have to help yourself, then it'll be easier if you have a more monkey type personality. And the reason we have all these different personalities is because each one is the best survival strategy for something. And not for something else. And so we all need to be able to bring our own gifts to the table and help and support each other.
when you were saying that they're like the unlucky zodiac, how does, with the Chinese and like feng shui, I know that there's different things that you could do to create different energy. Is there something like that, or is it just?
That I don't know. They're not unlucky like bad things happen to them. It's unlucky like, oh God, you have a monkey kid. I'm sorry. And I don't know if there's anything in feng shui about that.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I think there's also, because everything is context relevant, it could be that monkeys were not they didn't have the best time rising through the ranks of imperial Chinese, you know, social structures where people were tested a lot on their ability to be, you know, quiet and calm and patient and always doing what you're told and never sneaking around behind the emperor's back unless you're actually going to successfully assassinate him and take the throne, because you better not be caught doing anything without permission. So it could be that a personality that was not the best fit for the hierarchical structure, the social structure of ancient China would be a much better fit for a Western capitalist society.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Shall we get to the unhappy monkeys?
They bite. Unhappy monkeys are tough because they're the best at covering up what's going on with them. They don't want you to know. And so an unhappy monkey would, a problematic monkey would be a monkey that doesn't feel a sense of connection to anything else.
A sense of what?
A sense of connection to other people or to a purpose, or, you know, okay, so, you know, there's this thing about psychopaths, which are people who don't feel empathy. Like in their brains, when they see someone in pain, they don't feel pain, which most of us do. And it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily make them bad people. It means there's like one less reason not to be a mass murderer. There are still a lot of other reasons. You don't want to get caught. You want to do something else with your life. You were taught to be a good person. You follow the rules of your religion. There's just like one less thing that stops you hurting other people. And in some circumstances, that's not great. But apparently people who are diagnosed psychopaths are really, really, really useful in medicine, because you don't want surgeons and first aid people necessarily flinching every time they have to do something that might hurt someone else, if it's you know, part of helping them get better. And so apparently, especially in pediatric surgery, like, go for a psychopath, go for someone who's not going to be flinching and crying and like, oh, I can't hurt the baby. You want someone who will do what has to be done in order to deal with the situation. And so I'm not saying that all monkeys are psychopaths. I'm not saying psychopaths are monkeys, but a monkey, you know, because they have this inherent putting themselves first, and again, not in a bad way, they're just one end of a spectrum. Dog at this end, you know, let me run into a burning building and pull you out, please. And then you have monkey at this end of, I'm going to do what I have to do to survive, and I expect everyone else to do that. You know, so a monkey who has that ability to put themselves in the center, to solve problems from their perspective first and foremost, and who you know, who doesn't feel any sense of connection to something else, is going to be very problematic for society. A monkey, a sad monkey, like a monkey that's been hurt, that's been you know, that's been through hard things, if they're given the space to heal and someone to listen to them, they can come back, because that's what they do. They survive and they grow. Yeah, I mean, don't go back.
Who are monkeys compatible with? Like, who's the
Oh, so I do not have like all of the ancient folklore things memorized. Monkeys are very compatible with monkeys.
Okay.
I know that for sure. In terms of what monkeys need to get from the people around them, then the horse and the goat are actually like the horse and the goat can both give the monkey that sense of like, I love you, I am all about you, and we are together, and you're part of my herd. The dog and the pig also, they're both, the dog is a pack animal, the pig is a herd animal. Oxen are not great. Oxen are not great because oxen are very like, this is the rule. We all follow it the same way. Everything must be fair. Everything must be very, very by the book. And that is like the opposite of monkeys. And oxen, and the problem is, so the rooster's also like by the book, do everything right, make everything fair. But a rooster kind of look at a monkey and be like, I can respect you. I can respect you. I can, for putting you, because you do put yourself out there. You wouldn't expect anyone to do anything that you don't. But an ox, if an ox sees a monkey breaking the rules that the ox was taught to believe, the ox is going to lose respect for them.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's actually, what I do remember better is what signs are good in terms of a parent-child match, like who can parent what sort of children well. And so I think except for the ox, where you can have that problem of the loss of respect, monkeys can get along well with pretty much any other kid because they can put on the mask that's necessary and the persona that's necessary to be a good parent to that kid. One of my teachers, Ayal, he said, monkeys are so good at faking being good parents, they'll fool the kids. And like, if you fooled your kid into thinking you're a good parent, then like, what else do you need to do? You're good. The ox is a problem. Anything who has a tendency towards the monkey is going to want to be along with whatever else he is. He's going to want to be a playmate. He's going to want to be, a spouse and a playmate, a lover and a playmate, a parent and a playmate. And so if you have a kid who's very, very responsible and feels like they need to step up when dad is, what's that movie, Mrs. Doubtfire? You remember Mrs. Doubtfire, where like he decides to have a giant party and get clowns and a pony in the house because he wanted to cheer the kids up, and you end up in a situation where like everyone has to be the responsible adult around this guy because he doesn't know when it's time to stop playing. So that could be an issue with monkeys. Hopefully not. If they're well socialized and know what's expected of them in that role, they should be able to follow it. But
in my experience, monkeys get along with anybody who believes that they're wonderful. As long as you genuinely believe that this monkey is a wonderful monkey, then you're going to get along just great.
Yeah.
It's very easy. It's like the easiest thing for me anyway.
I agree.
Yeah. Something worth noting, though, is that a monkey who's backed into a corner or feels caged.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they're like anyone else, only more so. So a tiger. Going back to the tiger and the rabbit. Like, okay, a rabbit, right? A rabbit is about survival. The rabbit is the most prey animal of all the prey animals, and it represents the survival instinct. It's like survival is what it does. How it survives is by growing and developing and learning new skills and being creative. So it's not a sad little like only focused on survival, but that's like what it does is survive. And what monkeys do is they're connected to themselves and to their past, to their history, to whatever it is that gives meaning. But how they maintain that connection is survival. So it's kind of like their survival drive is even deeper because it's in the service of this higher or deeper connection. Yeah, a monkey backed into a corner is dangerous. Yeah, and again, quite like a rooster, we're gonna learn about roosters next week, and a rooster backed into a corner is just as dangerous if he's defending his hen and his chicks. A rooster backed into a corner all on his own is a creature. All right. Any other questions about monkeys? About anything else? Okay. Well then, thank you so much for coming. Next week, God willing, we will be talking about people born in the year of the rooster. After that, the year of the dog and the year of the pig, and then we're done.
Wow.
We're 3/4 of the way through now.
Wow.
Amazing.
Sticking with me.
Time flies. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Hava.
Recording.